Alright guys, Weekend Modder here with a tutorial on how to unban an Xbox 360 RGH or JTAG console. So I got this particular console all hooked up and I was using the Sawyer files in order to go online. I got about 3 days out of them without paying for any online servers, which I thought was pretty good. But just to prove the point, you can see here, number one, this is obviously an RGH because it's got a terabyte hard drive of 750 gigs free, which is bigger than any stock hard drive available. We're going to go into the network settings and do a network connection test just to prove to you that the console is banned. So console banned for violations of the terms of use to protect Xbox Live, da 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 da. Long story short, you're banned. Okay? So this I got an email on when I got banned too, and I know for a fact that this profile that I created using a 7-day trial is also banned. So first thing that I'm going to do, and that you should do as well, would be go and delete any profiles that are banned from the console. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this profile and items. Everything that I downloaded with the profile is now gone. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the console. If you don't already have your CPU key stored somewhere, that's going to be important. So what you can do is boot the console by pressing the eject button. Once you press the eject button, depending on whether you have a JTAG or a Corona RGH like this one is, you should get a booted Zell. Now you saw that one booted really quick. This is a really nice new chip that I've been using called the Ace 360. Worked pretty quick. When Zell loads, you'll see it attempt to obtain a network connection. You can actually read this over the network if you want to, but what you can also do here is just let it load through, and it will display to you your CPU key. Now, if for some reason that your CPU key is this doesn't display, what you can actually do is look at fuse set lines 3, then 5, or 4, and 6. It doesn't matter. But basically, so like 3 starts with DE8, and you can see this is DE8. And then 5 starts with 9418, and you can see down here where it shows 9418. So if you combine lines 3 and 5, that's also your CPU key from your fuse set. You also probably want to make note of your fuse set line 7, because that shows you your LDV, your lockdown value. There's 3 Fs, so I have an LDV of 3 on this console. So I'm going to go ahead and power the console off, and then I'm going to come over here and fire up JRunner and pick this up on the PC.
Okay. On the computer, got JRunner filed up. On here, I've got a couple other windows open that I'm going to walk you through. Here is the subfolder inside of where I have JRunner installed on my computer. In the JRunner folder, there's an exe build folder, and inside that, there's a folder named data. There's going to be these random files in here, but this is also where we're going to place our key vault and some other files in order to build the new NAND. Down here, I've got the extracted key files from the console that we're going to patch into this one. So there's our key vault that we're actually going to be replacing the original one with. Here I have just the original files from this console that we are attempting to repatch the key vault on. So this is the serial number of that console. So first things first, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit load source. I'm going to scroll down to that same serial number, and if you only have one or you got your RGH from somebody and they provided the files on a disk, that's totally fine. Just wherever you have your original files here. So here's my nandump.bin, and you can see this CPU key should match when you open it up what was visible in Zell. If you didn't already have the console preloaded, because I actually did this RGH myself, so the CPU key pre-populated because it knew that it went with that serial number. all you would have to do is manually type in that CPU key, and you would get the same result where everything should decode and you should be able to see all this information. So first things first, I'm going to grab a bit of information and save it in this untitled notepad document here. So the first note I'm going to make on this NAND info screen, which we talked about when we saw in Zell, is the LDV. There were 3 F's on that line, so the LDV should match here and be a 3. And the next information we're going to save is just going to be in regards to the DVD drive information. So what we need to know is the OSIG and the DVD key itself. Now this information is important because in order to make the DVD drive continue to work with the new key vault, we're actually going to have to patch the new NAND after we create it. There's also a note here about the FCRT bin required. That's going to be important for us to recall because when we build the new image, we're going to want to enable this no FCRT patch in order to get around that and have the drive actually work. Finally, I'm just going to grab the CPU key and paste it there so that I have that at my fingertips as well. Now, with all this loaded up, what you can see in the folder is we don't actually have all of the files that we need. So from JRunner, I'm going to choose Tools, Extract Files. And what this is doing is this is extracting files like the SMC, the key vault, all that sort of stuff out of the NAND dump, and it actually places them in a different location. It places them in the output folder, or at least current versions do, in the output folder with a file by the same name. So I've got that open now that it's been created, and that's what this is here. So you can see this is that same serial number again. This is our actual console's original serial number with the banned key vault. And now we have all of these additional files. So it's time to go ahead and place the files that we're going to need into the XEBuild data to build the key vault. So, or to build the updated NAND. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the decoded key vault from our donor. You might just have already a kv.bin. It might say kv_dec depending on who you get it from. I'm going to copy that file and I'm going to paste it into my XEBuild data folder, and I'm going to make sure that it's named to only kv.bin. Now, that's really the only file that we need from the donor console. I'm actually going to close that out. And I'm going to move this over here so you can see. Now these are the extracts from our original console. So from here what we need is the SMC DEC, so the decoded SMC, the SMC config, and the decoded FCRT. So all 3 of those files I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste those into the XEBuild folder. Now I'm also going to make sure that those are renamed without the appended _DEC, which just means that it's decoded. So fcrt.bin, SMC config, you don't have to rename it all. You leave it SMC config.bin, and then the SMC _DEC. So we're going to make sure that's named just smc.bin. So now we have all of the files that are necessary in our XEBuild data folder to build the NAND. What I like to do at this point is go ahead and exit JRunner and then restart it so that it's just a fresh session of the program. Because from here what we're going to do is we're going to grab this CPU key, copy and paste it into the CPU key location, and we're going to choose Advanced, Create an Image Without NANDDump.bin. So that's what this option here is. Before we do that, actually, I should clarify, depending on what type of image we're trying to build. Now, we can't build a non-glitched image with a patched key vault. You can't unban a retail. So this console is a slim Corona, so that's going to be RGH2. And then if we remember, we wanted that no FCRT to override that earlier function. So go ahead and set up your XEBuild options, RGH2, no FCRT if necessary, before you select that. So now I'm actually ready. I'm going to create a NAND dump without, or create an image without NANDDump.bin. So I'm going to select that, and it tells me kv.bin is missing. Tools, JRunner, XE build. Oh, you know what? I was in the wrong location here. Well, let's do this. So you can see here I did kind of a dumb thing. I have another JRunner install inside of my JRunner folder. It opened for me automatically the actual XE build data location. And as you can see, those files that we put are in a slightly different location, another JRunner subfolder. So real quick, I'm going to grab this FCRT, the KVault, the SMC, and the FSMC config. I'm going to cut them, and then I'm going to paste them into this location. So now that they're in the proper spot, once again, we're going to do the create an image without nandump.bin. Choose LDV. We noted that before. On an RGH image, it's not absolutely necessary, but we're going to do 3. And we need to select what type of console it is. It's a Corona 4 gig NAND. And check this out. We should get a nice output with an updated file. Now it's going to tell you too here, if you actually read the log, tools, JRunner, core pack, and then it actually places it in the serial number of your donor console updflash.bin image. So when I go to pull this up, let me go locate it here real quick. 614 ends in 805. So if you check this out, this is the donor board. My original NAND, this console was one that I did way back in, looks like 2005. Holy crap, this must be an old JTAG. Anyway, the updflash.bin that we just created, if you look at the date of May 16th, which is today as of this recording, is right here. So this is actually the created patched NAND for the Corona console, and you can see here it's the appropriate size, 49 megabytes, which is what a Corona 4 gig built NAND should be. So I'm going to copy this and paste it to my desktop, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up here in just a moment and show you how to place that update in JRunner, make sure the DVD drive information is there, and actually write it to the console. Alright, so what I've gone ahead and done now is actually just fired up closed out everything, fired up the JRunner application again. I'm going to go ahead and load the source, and what you're going to see here on my desktop where we saved it is that updflash.bin. Now when I load this, the CPU key is not automatically populating through. Now that's fine because the CPU key it's a new type of NAND image to the console. It doesn't know that we've built this and that sort of thing. So what we need to do is provide it with our original CPU key again. I made the mistake of going ahead and closing out my little, the notepad that we had open with those files on it, with that CPU key in there. So off screen right now, I'm grabbing that CPU key. So here's my CPU key. I'm going to copy that file, which is again the same that we saw in Zell. It should indicate that CPU key NAND initialization is finished, and we should at least be able to see this information here. Now, the key vault information that we see here is going to be kind of a mix, because the key vault stores the console's DVD drive information. Because that's where the DVD drive information is stored, this DVD key is from the donor key vault rather than from our original key vault. So what we need to do at this point is actually patch the NAND and enable this no FCRT. So the first thing that I'm going to do is go to the advanced patch NAND, and then I'm going to select patch key vault, and I'm copying and pasting that key vault information that we saved earlier. The OSIG again is going to be 16D5S, and in this case it was a 1532. The serial and console ID don't have to be changed in order to match. You could, I suppose, if it was important for you to have it show up. But I would probably advise leaving at least the serial number as the donor one, because it's kind of the whole point, is you want it to appear to the live servers as a different console. So when we when we do the patch NAND here, we have now saved as JRunner output UPD flash patched NAND. So this source that's loaded is actually still the file that's on our desktop. So in order to see what the resulting patched file was and verify that it's what we want to see, we're going to need to reload it. So we're going to choose load source, and I'm actually going to go to that location that's specified right here. So let me do that real quick. Tools, JRunner, output, and then we've got a UPD flashed underscore patched. So now I've loaded that location here. Output UPD flashed underscore patched. I'm also going to have to give it the CPU key again so that it can decode. But now when we go to the key vault, check this out. We have our correct OSIG and our correct DVD key. Now assuming that the no FCRT function was in there, right? This should allow the DVD drive to work as is. Because I don't see the FCRT flag file set down here where it would normally appear. So from here, now we know that this file is essentially what we're looking for. It works off of our original console CPU key, but it has our donor key vault information. We're going to go ahead and grab that file and place it on a USB thumb drive that we're going to use to update the console itself. So I keep this removable disk that has a whole bunch of stuff on it, one of which being the simple 360 NAND flasher with 4 gig support. Inside of here, what we need to do is place the updflash.bin file. So I'm going to actually hit load source here. I'm going to copy the updflash underscore patched file. I'm going to paste it into that location on my removable thumb drive. So it's transferring over. And the way that simple NAND flasher works is it requires that it be named updflash.bin, otherwise it won't flash it. So I'm going to remove the underscore patched. So now I've just got a updflash.bin. Finally, I'm going to eject my thumb drive. So there we go, ejected. Now I'm going to stop this and pick up back on the console and show you how to make it right.
All right, so here's that thumb drive that we just wrote the updflash.bin inside of the simple NAND flasher directory. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into my console, which is the source console, the banned one. And I'm going to go ahead and boot the console normally. In this particular console, that little light that blinks is actually tied to the debug light on the glitch chip. So every time it pulses is actually one glitch cycle. This being a Corona 4 gig, it can go anywhere from insta-boot like we saw before up to, in this particular one, 30-45 seconds because I've got it tuned fairly well. So once we have this console booted, there we go. So that was a little bit on the long side. That was probably most of 45 seconds or something, maybe even a minute. So now, console is booting up with our USB thumb drive attached. And it's pretty straightforward from here. What we're going to do So the thumb drive has a launch INI on it that launched me directly into Freestyle. I can use the file manager to do this. So I can go file manager, USB 0, NAND flasher. Let's see, we actually want the simple NAND flasher default. So we can see our updflash.bin file, but we're going to launch the default.xex. You could do the exact same thing with XEX menu. Just launch the default.xex for simple 360 NAND flasher. So I'm going to launch that, and it should actually pick up that I'm using an MMC. Press A if you want to flash your NAND with raw flash. Press B if you want to safe flash, or press X if you want to dump. Well, safe flash is dumping plus then writing it. We actually already have original copies of this NAND, so we're pretty okay. I'm going to go ahead and press A, and then it says press start to flash your NAND. So I'm going to press start, and it is now checking for updflash.bin, and then it's proceeding to write the image to the console. So we're going to go through all of the percentages until it hits 100, obviously. And then it will shut down your console. So there's the console turned off. Now I should be able to disconnect to the USB thumb drive. And then I'm going to just simply unplug the power from it. Count to 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is just a habit from kind of the old days for me, but seems to be a good thing to do. I'm going to reconnect the power, and I'm going to reboot the console. So again, we're going to get our glitch pulses. So that was about 340 in the video, and there we go. Nearly instant boot on that one. So now, when the console boots back up, our USB is out, which is where the launch in is, so it's not going to boot Freestyle this time. It's going to boot directly to the dash. And it's running like a first-time setup, which is not completely unexpected, so no big deal. We're going to say no to content controls. And we're going to say connect later. Connect later. Crap, I made the wrong selection. And then go play. So number one, obviously we made a functional NAND image because the console booted back up. Number two, if we come over to system settings, console settings, and go to system info here, we actually see the updated serial number and console ID that we saw in JRunner. Now, the last step here is to test the DVD drive to make sure that it is still playing games. So I've got one right here. And this is a 16D5S drive. It's not flashed or LTU'd or anything. So I'm going to use an original disk. Insert that into the console. Go back over to the home setting. Now, if it reads it as a game, then we correctly patched the disk drive information. If it says play DVD and tries to read it like a movie and says, like, please insert this into a 360, then we did not patch the DVD drive information correctly. So, oh, you know what? I forgot. This console has a bad laser in it at the moment, so it's not going to read a game regardless. So I don't have any way to prove that right now. Bummer. Well, I'm not going to tear out this console and replace the laser just for that. That's why I picked up this particular one, just because it did come with a bum laser. How else can I prove it? Well, we can prove we unbanned the console at least. Rather than hooking up the Wi-Fi, why don't I just do this real quick? I'll plug in an Ethernet cable. And let's do this. We'll go to settings, network settings, wired network, and real quick we'll just do a test Xbox Live connection. So we should get, no problem, a network. We should get an internet connection. And then if our key vault patch was successful, we should also get a no sort of banned error message when it comes to Xbox Live connection. So my offline files are still enabled, the Sawyer program. So we're actually, if we go back to the dash now, you can see that the ads have populated through. So we're connected to Xbox Live now on the new Key Vault. So at least that portion's proven working. Anyway, I hope this is helpful for some of you folks out there.